everyone. Right, I'm going to do a fairly quick video today on a rundown on the books that I've used to help with my sight reading this year, the books that have helped me and the books that I've failed miserably at. I'm not saying they wouldn't work for other people, but there have been some that I can't get on with yet, and I think you'd probably be interested in seeing that. So the main ones, if you want to see inside these books, I did another video which I'll link at the top where I showed some excerpts and me playing a few of them. The main books that I've been using, and they go up to level 6, which is where I'm at currently, are these Alfred books. And the main book that you want out of every single level, I've talked about this a lot, is the lesson book. Okay, and if you can get any book that goes at the same level, I've got the solo book here, there's all sorts, there's technique books, and you've got recital book, there's the lesson book for level 4. They all complement each other. What was good with these for reading was that the same skills are built up very gradually, and I went all the way back. I went back to the level 2. That's a duo book, that's what I'm doing with myself. I went back to the lesson 2 book. I only did the lesson book at level 2. They build up chords in keys gradually in intervals, and they've got the same skills running through. Then if you've done their lesson book and you go off and you do, say, their recital book, you'll find it's the same skills that you covered in the lesson book, but a mixture, and the piece will be fuller and more of a showpiece. So that was that series. I've been running through that. I'm still doing it. I've just started the level 6, but I do repeat occasionally. I'll probably need to do 5. They start off, they're quite kind of aimed at kids, I suppose, but by the time that you get up to the level 5s and the 6s, you know, it gives you good information about, say, this is talking about sonatina, and so it's less kiddish, and certainly, you know, the material is much more complex. So that was that series. At the same time as I was doing that, this was the best companion book of an anthology. Anthologies can be tricky because they can go way off difficult, you know, quite quickly. This 42 Famous Classics, it starts very easy and it gradually gets a little bit more difficult towards the end, but not too difficult. This was the best companion book, just like random other book that I could find that I could start to play pieces from. This was the first that I could apply the skills that I was learning in those Alfred books to this and not get frustrated. I also, at the same time, I tried this. I thought this would be fine because it says piano pieces for adult beginners, but not so. It's like old-fashioned beginners, like in the time before everyone had telly and entertainment and media. I think the standards of playing were higher. So the problem with this was, you know, you're immediately on the second page, you're into 3 flats. And if you haven't consolidated that yet, then that's just a note-for-note struggle. So this, now a year into my sight reading, is becoming possible, and I have read all of it, but it's got about 20 pages at the end that I nearly skipped, and I thought, no, I'm not letting them beat me. It's got like Moonlight Sonata in it, and some very full versions of like Maple Leaf Rag. The other series, again, it's Alfred, the Premier Piano Course. I've just finished level 5, if I know, I'm on level 5. These are more jazzy. They follow a similar thing in that you've got the lesson book, and then you can choose other books that you fancy. I've got Masterworks there and piano and movie hits. You can opt to have the CD with these, and having the CD, when I was back doing the level, no, that's lesson 4. I went all the way back to 1, people. Okay, let's look at the 2B. Yeah, comes with a CD, and actually it's a real joy when you're back playing simple stuff to have an accompaniment played, or to try and keep up with the recording. I was just talking to you about the adult beginners. There's this one as well for children, same series, and there's 1 and 2. These are graded. I've had a little go at these, and yes, it's graded, as in 1, 2, 3 and 4, not like the ABRSM levels, but I would still say it's not as good an accompaniment when you're sight reading as that is, because, for example, it starts off and you think, okay, yeah, not bad, but actually by the 4th page, you've got Schumann's Melody, Opus 68, which is not, it would have been quite frustrating. It would have been quite frustrating back then. I can do some of them now, but even now they can be a little bit frustrating. And you need flow. You need books that. The beauty of having these graded books, and I'm not being paid by Alfred. It's just I found a level 3 book and I just clung to that series because it was helping me with my sight reading. I don't have to think about whether I've got the right material or not. I don't have to worry about, like, I used to pull stuff off IMSLP, and when I pulled it off, you could guarantee that I would then discover that it was too hard, or I would like the sound of something and then it had 4 flats and I wasn't ready for it, and things like that. Though having some sort of series, whether it's Faber or Alfred or anyone, it helps to take that, when you've got 10 minutes to yourself and you can sight read, you haven't got to think about your material, and that really helps you get to the piano and get reading something that you know isn't just going to frustrate you. So the other thing that I read, which is, I keep going back to this book. I'm going to read from this book. This will be one of my series, is actually reading this book. This was the next book after this one that started to become possible because its chords are what you're learning in the Alfred book, that kind of chord. So this book started opening up to me after this book. Only 1 or 2 pieces to start, and one of my subscribers was talking about what they found in this book to read, and I said, oh yeah, it was the same, I started on that one too. Yeah, that opens up gradually, way more than these, definitely. So that's a good companion to have, where you're just reading non-Alfred stuff, just, you know, old songs and some classical pieces and folky tunes, stuff like that. I wanted to push out into jazz a little bit. I read some of this, but not all. Little Stories in Jazz. You know, I've read these. I read these to you, didn't I? I've also, at the same time, I have been doing on and off, more off than on sometimes, the ABRSM sight reading book, because I have to. Because I am going to be doing it. Don't start at grade 6. I went back to grade 2. I've done that, I don't know how many times over the years, but I went all the way back to grade 2 of the Paul Harris Improve Your Sight Reading is very helpful for getting up to speed with the ABRSM ones. And I've stalled. I'm so frustrated with level 6 that I don't want to look at it at the moment, so I will go there, but not quite yet. Irregular time signatures, oh my gosh. Level 5 needs a reread. When I read now levels 2 and 3, it feels a lot different from when I was struggling before. So some things worked a little bit. I'm not saying they all go well, but better than they were. That's all you can ask for, really, isn't it? Where am I going next? I am going to go to this series of jazz rags and blues, because again, getting used to swung rhythms and accidentals, and I know I need to work on it, so I'm going to do those. I also, Matt Southam's got this book and I saw it. I'm not sure, I didn't mean to get the grade 1 and 2. I've ended up with the 3, 4 and 5. It might be too hard for me, I don't know. This Ludovico Einaudi, he's simplified some of his pieces so that this is supposed to be intermediate to early advanced, so I think that's going to be hard for my reading. But, you know, G major, okay, I remember the chants, 2 sharps there, so yeah. We'll see, I might read it to you, we'll see. Those are my successes and where I'm going next. My failures, what have I not managed to do? Okay, bear with me, I'll just get the books. I've spent a lot of time on Czerny. The easy one, this is the Opus 599. I would say this is great up to a point. I have stalled, I knew I would. I mean, I could force myself, but the point is, I don't force myself. I try to learn this instrument with the minimum mental inconvenience to myself. I've stalled on demi-semiquavers. I haven't been back to this book for weeks, but I will. So up to page 30, it was useful etudes in various kind of rhythms. It starts, you know, it's handleable to start with, you know, if that's what you want to do. It's not the school of velocity, it's not that horror. I got a load of books. I feel guilty because this is in my sight reading book haul or something, one of my videos, and I'm going, oh yeah, I've got the Bergmüller and the Tchaikovsky. This is the album for the young, Bergmuller, Collected Studies for Piano Opus 100, 105 and 109. I got this at the same time, the Schumann Album for the Young, and I'm sure there was something else, Cola as well, I think I got. They're recommended in Dr. Corey Hall's, he's done, I think it's on his website, as in these are really good and should be devoured by anyone wanting to sight read. And I do plan to, but what I want to say to you is that they're not a beginning, they're later. There's something that I'll come back to later, because if I try and do them now, it's just frustrating and it becomes more memorising or just getting to the end of the piece but not really putting anything into my skill box for later use. They're all different enough that, you know, repetition doesn't really happen, so I don't get a lot in terms of teaching myself to recognise stuff for the future out of these books. But eventually, I'm sure I will love them. I've tried ever so hard to read Dr. Corey Hall's book, because I respect what he's trying to do with the sight reading, but however many times I return to this, I just can't. It might be a genre thing. I should have thought of this before, but I'm not keen on that style of music. The Bach chorales just don't do it for me. Well, when I play them particularly, because obviously it's completely awful. Probably I'll get into them later. But the main thing that frustrated me with this book was it jumps around in the keys all the time. Each exercise, you follow the top line, like the whole book, then the second line and the whole book. This is number 23, and how many flats is that? 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 flats, you know, and then on the next page, 3 flats. The page before, I think we've got 1 sharp and no sharp, G major, A minor. When you jump around keys like that, it's all right if you've got a prior feel of that key, which those Alfred books, the kids' books, build that up gradually. But if you just jump cold, it becomes something that you're just kind of struggling note to note. And anyway, it's too much of a struggle for me. I get what he's doing. He wants us to be, you know, 50% and 50% independent in both hands, and wants us to be able to execute that without relying on, like for me, if it's chords that I recognise, I can half switch off the left hand because I can see them coming a mile off. Dr. Corey Hall saying, well, you want to be able to read no matter what is put in front of you, and this book will help you to do that. And, you know, I believe him, and I will return to it. But I haven't been able to get anywhere with it just yet. I mean, you could obviously flick through and find keys that you were familiar with and practice that. But as I said, when you're limited on time and you just want to get some reading done, even that's you're a bar to your own self when you're doing that kind of thing. This is a classic. I went into a shop, beware of this. I looked inside this Christmas book around Christmas time, and I went, oh yeah, I can read all that. I don't know why I thought that. But actually then when you get it home, I just realised, you know, they're huge chords, you know, with 4 notes sometimes in the left hand. So I read through over Christmas. I did read to page 93, and then I had to admit defeat. I had to say not yet on that one. So they're the books I failed at, but I'm not failing at them completely in the sense that I'm saying, okay, I may not be able to do them now, not yet, but, you know, one day hopefully. A bit like, you know, this time a year ago, nothing was open to me. It used to take me 10 years to go from one note to the next, whereas now, you know, those 2 anthology books, the Yellow Book and the 42 Classics, you know, there are pieces in there that I can just sit down and read because I fancy reading something. Probably not that great to listen to yet. You be the judge when I play you the Yellow Book. But some of them are okay. It's, you know, so yeah, it's coming. So those are my books for last year. Anything else that I want to talk about? No, I think that is done. I have said I'll link the video where I show you inside some of the Alfreds. Don't be afraid to go back really, really simple, okay? It's not a failing. I know that you can do repertoire to whatever level. I was grade 6, you know, handling music at that level. But in order to build up the skills in reading, it was necessary just to go back really simple. And you actually enjoy it as well as it becomes possible and you start to speed up. You love those pieces just as much as that you would love a really complex piece that you'd memorised. So yeah, it does change things. If you go simple, gradually more stuff begins to open up. So I'll leave it there, and good luck with your sight reading, and I'll see you next time.